traditional animation. And live. Welcome everybody to BlenderToday Live 251. We have a special episode today because we have a special guest and we have a special feature for a special release.
For us, it's definitely a special occasion. So glad to see the show back once again. And people know what the topic is, right?
They know. I mentioned it on a tweet. I mentioned it on the text here, everywhere. And we mentioned it on the last episode. I mentioned that maybe next week, also 3 months ago, we would talk about extensions. And we were going to talk about extensions. Remember when the platform was relaunched? And then later on, but we were waiting for the right moment. Why? And okay, so quickly, what is extensions and why now is a good moment to talk about it?
So we are ready to enter Blender. Basically, Blender 4.2 goes into beta next week on Wednesday. And together with Blender 4.2, we're also launching the Blender extensions platform, which is that close to be ready just as well.
That close, as in beta. It used to be alpha, now beta means that people can start uploading and sharing all their extensions as much as they want.
And people are doing this already, so we not on. Maybe we should start from the beginning. I don't know.
Oh, right. Let's start from the beginning. So, what is an extension? Now, well, extensions. There's two things to not mix them up. There is extensions platform, so extensions.blender.org. That's one thing, but there is the Blender extensions, and also known as I mentioned it in the tweet. Is Blender Foundation killing all the paid add-ons or not allowing add-ons anymore? Because I don't know about you, but when I open Blender and I go to settings, I don't see my add-ons anymore. What happened?
Right, that's a good start. So basically all add-ons within Blender, they were moved to be part of the extension system. And any add-on you might have, the add-ons from the previous Blender versions, or add-ons which you paid and you bought in whatever third-party store, are also compatible with the new extension system.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, they are features specifically created for those commercial stores, which Blender, the Blender extension platform itself won't really benefit, that are already integrated. Could even show them at some point.
We could, but yeah, just to reiterate this in full screen, Blender, your add-ons from 4.1 and previous, they are going to work just fine. They are going to be installed just as usual. The difference between an add-on and an extension is that the extension has a bit of extra information that can make it connect to a store like the extensions platform or the Blender Market one day, or CG Cookie maybe, or I don't know, Gumroad, or your own local one. It doesn't have to be a big website. You can have your own little add-on repository online and distribute on your studio or on your own network your extensions and updates, and it's a win-win for everyone. The main issue, I think, that the confusion comes that the Blender extensions platform, the website, only allows open source content that is free and open source, that is freely available without any paywalls. That's it, but because it's part of the Blender philosophy. But outside of the extensions platform, anybody can do whatever they want.
No, definitely. And we're actually inviting also people who already want to try their own little local store or local implementation. We see studios benefiting from this as well. They want to roll out their own set of pre-created, pre-selected add-ons or pre-purchased add-ons, if you may. And so far the feedback has been very positive. But again, Blender itself is not even in beta, Blender 4.2. So it's a pretty good time for more people to test it and give us some feedback.
Yeah. So with that out of the way, so we got the answer that Blender is not killing off all the paid add-ons. The one maybe step that add-on developers could do to get ready for the future is to convert them into an extension, and you can do that. There is documentation already in the website in the about. You get some information about how to install an extension, how to package, how to publish an extension, and in this website, but also how to package it in general, like follow the guidelines to create a manifest, which is the one file that differences an extension from a regular add-on.
And there's also a few new functionalities we put into Blender just because of these, of the requirement of extensions. Because one of the things we want for extensions is them to be self-contained. So basically any extension that might depend on external Python libraries, they have to be bundled with wheels, something technical for add-on creators. But now Blender has a way to internally load those files seamlessly, and we expect them for the extensions then to have less dependencies because of that. They get a bit bigger, not big, they get a lot bigger, like on the 100 of megabytes. But as far as host, storage, that's not a concern. But at least now you don't need to have a per add-on dependency installation. I don't know if you've seen those add-ons. You go to the user preference, and click and install the different dependencies and Python wheels and Python. So this is things from the past.
Things from the past. And speaking of the past, here's a question. So say I don't care. I couldn't care less about extensions. I just want my 4.1 add-ons. And I have an internet connection, right? I can connect at home and that's fine. How do I access that? Because they're not installed anymore.
Right. One thing we are still working on is what happens the moment you open Blender for the first time if you had previously enabled add-ons installed.
Yeah.
And so far we're gonna see in the user preference that a few add-ons are missing because again, they're no longer add-ons or not expected to be add-ons. In particular, the ones that used to be bundled with Blender. So as you might know, Blender used to have 100 add-ons that at some point they were bundled with Blender, and year after year we stopped accepting those add-ons because there was a lot of overhead to maintain those, and basically the quality threshold was a bit hard to define.
I think it was from before the time we were actually checking what those add-ons did in depth.
Yeah. And then basically we have a situation where for 5 years, give it or take, we haven't had any major add-ons bundled with Blender.
No.
The exception being the ones maintained already by the core team of Blender.
Or the studio, yeah.
So basically, I'm saying that those 100 add-ons are now online. So how they go about it? Let's take an example like the icon viewer.
The icon for developers, or maybe loop tools.
Loop tools.
That's more popular than icon viewer.
I was thinking the Node Wrangler, but Node Wrangler is a special case.
It's a special case, yeah.
Separate topic. So the loop tools.
The loop tools. I want to make some loop tools, so I usually will open the preferences and go to add-ons. There's no more add-ons, but in the same section there is extensions. So I guess that's where I need to go.
That's correct.
And now I'm welcome with this message: access community-made add-ons and themes from the extensions repository.
To be honest, this is a Blender which was already you already used this Blender before.
I
know you launched it with Factory Startup.
I launched it with Factory.
But your folder, basically, trust me on that. You can, if you wipe out your 4.2 folder,
it's gonna look different.
It's gonna look different.
Okay, but I need to know where it is on a Mac, and then it's
Because basically, what Pablo did already here, he had already pre-initialized the extensions and the extension system.
Yeah.
And I can delete things where I try to talk over that. But basically, you're going to be greeted with a message that say, hey, this is where you can access your extensions. However, you do need internet to be able to leverage the online repositories as much as possible. And Blender by default, by design, works offline. Blender doesn't connect to the internet without you willing Blender to do so. And now with 4.2, we have a new option that you can set up in settings, networks, that is allow internet access or allow online access. So it's an explicit action. Say, hey Blender, I know internet is great and gonna allow me to find updates for my add-ons and in the future, so many more things. But we want to make sure that this is explicit and Blender is not going to the internet without you being aware of that. How are you doing there with that?
How do you know where the settings are?
Yeah, it's in the application library.
Applications, in the folder that is
the hidden folder. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you can also, if you go to the repositories, you can see where's the local folder. Advanced.
Ah, there you go. I can actually
alt-click.
click here. All right. Well, let me show that in the screen, because the advanced and then alt click, this is a feature that it's very well hidden. All right. So 4.2. I'm gonna nuke this folder entirely, right?
Yeah, that works.
All right. That is a bit more extreme, but now let's close this, and I'm gonna run again my Blender in there, factory startup, and that means here this is a fully new install. It's actually so tiny because of that. So say I don't need to import my Blender settings, but if I import Blender 4.1, what happens?
You can do it. It doesn't.
It's gonna look similar to what I had before.
Gonna look similar to what you had before.
Let's go for complete start. Okay, so I want left click select, search. That's it.
You might want to make the UI maybe a bit larger, I guess.
Yeah, but
You do it
I
afterwards.
can't do it from here, so I need to actually go to. This looks pretty much the same. Nothing has changed. We do get a new splash on next week, by the way, by the studio team. Spoiler alert. All right. So now I'm here.
All right.
What now? I go to extensions, and then I get.
You get greeted with the same welcome message, but if you scroll down, you will only see what is called core add-ons. So basically, those are add-ons which are, let's say, basically an essential part of Blender that just happens to be written in Python. That's how we're defining them. And we might even remove them from this UI altogether, depending on whether we manage to do this in time or not.
Interesting.
Yeah. So
All right.
You will recognize some usual suspects like pose library, FBX, UV layout.
Yeah, exactly. A bunch of here I don't want, so I could actually remove, like FEX, I don't like you. Remove. It's these local add-ons that come with Blender.
That's
okay,
correct, yeah.
just like it used to be. Instead of 100, now there is just a handful. Say that I want the loop tools. That's not included. What do I do?
Right. First, you need to go to System. If you just click and go to System.
Oh, I can read maybe. This requires online access, which must be enabled in System Preference. So does Blender require online access now for it to work?
Do not, and never will.
All right. Just answering a question from the chat. No, Blender does not. Let's go full screen for full appreciation of this.
Blender does not require internet and will never require internet access.
For it to work properly, of course. If you install an add-on and want to update it, of course. But does not. You can take Blender on a USB stick, take it to up the mountain, and use it. That will not change. It's part of a Blender philosophy. It's part of one of the principles of Blender that should work without internet access.
And even with the new extension system, if you really, for whatever reason, and there are many, you might want to work completely offline, you can install extensions entirely offline. You can install their updates manually, entirely offline. So that's what I mean. It really doesn't require internet.
It does not, and actually by default, and you're gonna see it now in the demo, by default, Blender is offline. The Blender has a setting that I'm gonna show you that it is off by default as a starting point, like by default offline. Now we can continue. So system, all right, I can go to system settings. Oh my gosh, cycles, note that. Network, this is a new panel in the preferences that has one toggle that is off by default that is called allow online access.
Allow internet access, my access, configure extend. So the catch here is that this option doesn't really limit any add-on from accessing the internet.
Because it's technically really hard to, because an add-on could do some tricky things to try connect the internet, and for Blender, it's just, you can't guarantee that an add-on will go the nice way, unfortunately.
So this is a guideline, and in the Blender extensions platform, we're also recommending any add-on that says that they require network access to also check what's the value of the setting to make sure it respects the user setting for that.
Exactly. So if you're an add-on developer, you can already start adding to your add-on. If you use internet access, like check for the use online access Python API bit.
Actually, and there's a page for that in the documentation you showed there.
Can I right click online manual?
Probably not. Here, if you go to one page up,
And by that,
and basically by that I mean the set of extensions, go one page up, click on add-ons, click on internet access. So because one thing is the user preference, and the other thing is what we call the bpy.app.online access, which is a read-only value that's gonna tell while you're running Blender, hey, do I have internet access or not? And that's the only thing that the add-on should be concerned about, because even though the user setting might says the user preference might say that yeah, I do allow internet access, if you launch Blender with a new command line option called offline mode, then this option is overridden and cannot be changed in the same Blender session. So it's all explained there in the documentation.
Yeah. So never mind what I said. If you're an add-on developer, check for BPY app online access. It's a read-only, and it's a setting that can be overridden by commands. So, all right. So I'm a user, and I want to access my loop tools. I want to allow online access, right? Because that's what the settings said before. I'm fine. I have internet access. The message is gone. Now, can I search for loop tools? Oh, so, no.
Not yet. And this is something we're working on this week.
Okay.
That automatically, every time you go to the extensions preferences tab, this whole listing is going to get updated.
Okay.
Meanwhile, for anyone testing the daily Blender from builder.blender.org, you can just go to the little menu over there and go for check for updates.
That's why it's so hidden, because it will be automatic eventually.
Yes, this is you shouldn't really require. This is the equivalent of refresh in a web page. You shouldn't really have to update your cache, to update whatever. So it's there, just be safe, but you shouldn't have to use it.
Can we document this operator at some point?
We can document it this week.
Okay, thank you. Check for updates. Opa, I saw an error, but it went away as it fixed itself. Beautiful. All right, so now I see Node Wrangler, edit link library, and a bunch of usual suspects here. Let me check for the loop tools. Oh my gosh, here it is. Nice. I can even see more information before. It doesn't need any permission. Nice. It's maintained by the community. GPL. Cool.
You can also, before trying to install, try to enable it. And that's gonna give you a nice message explaining why you cannot do it. You need to install it before you can enable it.
Kind of makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Install. Now this is installed. Cool. It has even a setting, a preference over here. And it says website. Where does the website go? To the extensions platform.
So any extension from the Blender extensions platform that's accessed from Blender is gonna always send you to the extensions platform website. From there, the extension itself might have its own website with more documentation usually, and you can go to other places. But by design, from Blender, you can only go to our trust blender.org domain, unless you installed other repositories.
Yes, you can also go to the source for the community, the community add-ons extensions. You can actually see the source on the extensions section, repository, organization on the on projects.blender.org.
Yeah, this is worth mentioning because, as I said, we had 100 scripts add-ons that used to be bundled with Blender, plus a few themes. So, before contacting all the add-on authors and maintainers to see what we do about them, we decided to automatically batch convert all of them to add-ons and automatically update them to the internet. So that's why we see that some of those have basically no icons, no preview images, because they are as maintained as it is at the moment. And we're slowly basically handing them over to their original maintainers. And for some of those who might be orphaned, might be abandoned, might just keep as a community, maybe doing some basic fix every now and then.
Yeah, there is a few items, for example, the Wrangler, that also look like they could use some more help. So if you, well, no, this is a special case because we might tackle it differently. But for example, in my case, with my my add-on, I got in touch with Dalai, and I still didn't add a preview yet. That's bad. But I added an icon, and I plan to update the description. I even updated the version here. So if you are an author of or maintainer of one of the add-ons that ship with Blender, or you're interested in contributing and like taking ownership, well, ownership is GPL, right, of the code of one of the add-ons, get in touch.
But that's a point. Just because it's GPL doesn't mean you can upload any add-on to the platform.
Why? Can I just, does it need to be reviewed or approved by anyone?
Good question, Pablo. So we do have a review system, and we do have a few guidelines which we expect to be followed. One of them is indeed you should be the owner or the maintainer of the add-on.
Yeah.
If you're not, because we don't want add-ons which are in a state of abandon there. That's might also address the question that people might have, like what happens if someone takes my add-on and put in the online platform. Ideally shouldn't be vetted by the approval team, but worst case anyone can also file a report and ask for this to be removed. But the interesting thing is, just as Blender and the Blender extensions platform is also a community effort, and if you go to a preview queue, for instance, you can...
I was mentioning, sorry, the links that you just mentioned, they are in the upload form here.
Oh, yes.
So the approval queue, this is, wait, I'm logged in. Let me be logged out so we get the real experience. Why when I logged out, it asks me to log in. Okay. Approval queue. This is public. It's a public page where you can see every extension that has been, even themes or add-ons that it's in the queue to be reviewed. Some of them are required to have changes, and some of them are even approved already. But this is a way to make it transparent to everyone that what's the status of this extension.
That's correct. And we already have 2 official moderators from the community. Cheer for them. Victor and Nikki.
Yeah.
Nick Berkeley.
Nika is actually in the chat. Hi, Nika. Thanks for your work.
And it's been so helpful to already... It's been great to see their involvement, and everyone is welcome to help testing. The first step is always to test, see if things are fine, see if the description is accurate, see if the permissions are set properly. We will at some point publish a little guideline for how to triage the extensions, so far as an internal document, but anyone is welcome to help, and anyone's welcome to join also the chat we have for the moderation, which is #extensions moderators.
Yes. But you will find that in the about page, I think. And maybe we were thinking of making a moderators page, so you can see who is moderator in the team and who, if you want to get involved as well. The more the merrier. The more we can have help with this, the better.
I would love to show how people are supposed to install things from the website.
Ooh.
Because Blender is nice. It's nice if you're looking for loop tools or an add-on that you already knew you were missing. So that's, out of your mind what you're looking for. But now with the extensions platform, there's so many new, add-ons you don't even know about, or themes. How do you even know whether a theme is nice or not?
I know.
I love the new themes we have.
Oh yeah, the themes are actually pretty fun to use. Shall we go with themes first or with an add-on first?
It can be a theme.
I mean, a theme just to have a different. Let's see. I like this one. Genuinely disgusting.
I like the alien one very much.
As an icon. All right. So let's try. Let's say I want this particular extension. So I'm in both Blender and the extensions website. The mobile version seems to work great. And there is this get theme button. If I click on it, it didn't download, but it says drag and drop into Blender. And now the moment of truth. Let's see, let's put this aside and see how this works.
A disclaimer before. This was broken for like a week and a half, I think. So last week when we announced that the extensions platform went to beta, and we did a blog post. There's a few people who already covered this on the internet, and no one managed to demo this. And they have been all been very nice, accommodating, understanding that the software is beta. Would have even been more helpful if people have reported this as a bug, because it is a bug.
Can I do it?
But now we're gonna try live for the first
Live.
time.
All right. Drag, drop, install extension. Do you want to install the following theme? Disgusting. Set the current theme. I can even choose to set it or not.
Yeah, of course.
Voila.
Beautiful. This was a bad idea because now we know how to remove the theme.
What do you mean?
For the rest of the live.
Oh shit! Yeah. Oh my god. All right. Let's go to.
Let's uninstall it. Is a good example.
Okay. So can I filter by my install? Jesus, I chose the best. Filter by enabled extensions, right? And themes. It's another type. And then I can.
We could also have remove it altogether.
Okay. I see it here. I can filter by the installed extensions, and this is it. So I can go ahead here and install it.
Yes.
Voila. Nice. Sorry, Aiden McCown. Great theme, by the way. You see, this is why we need to keep all the settings in the Blender theme editor. Awesome. All right. So this worked with a theme. So I'm gonna try and go ahead with an add-on. Actually, there is these wireframe color tools. This sounds nice. It's been updated 3 months ago. I'm not sure if it's gonna be.
Give it a try.
February 2024. Okay. So another disclaimer. Since February, lots of things have changed. Among them is the API, the add-on, the manifest,
I think it's gonna work.
All right. What do you wanna bet?
But I don't know how to demo this add-on.
Let's find out. Drag and drop. Oh my gosh. This is not supposed to. This is from when it was alpha. Let's see. All right. It is installed. It shows a notification here. I assume this is gonna be. We can look at the description. Random colors. It's maybe added some buttons here.
Maybe click on the.
Be sure to set your viewport shading up to display object. Sorry. In the images.
So.
It's in the object setting.
As Pablo said, this is a bit an early. This was accepted in the early days of the website.
Open wire color. What is that?
Since then, we have been a bit more criteria on suggesting to have the basic documentation right in the description, and the main one is where to find my tools. If you need to be in maybe render mode.
Solid render mode, you think?
No idea.
I don't think so, but it works. It's installed, so cool. All right.
Do you know what would be nice to demo as well?
Yes.
Install
what?
from disk.
Install from disk.
Yes.
Oh my. All right. Let me see. So I'm going to start my render from scratch. I'm going to install from this. Okay, I have a bunch of add-ons that I downloaded from Blender. I don't know, somewhere. How do I install it? So I used to have a button here that said install, right?
That's correct.
Is it possible to install my previous add-ons?
Yes, both your previous add-ons and your new extensions.
Okay.
So is there a difference? Well, yes, basically yes and no. Basically, right now we do see two separate entries there to installing. One is install from disk, and the other one is install legacy add-on. This is going to be merged as a single install from disk option, and then you're going to be whatever you're going to be picking, Blender is going to know what to do with that. Right now it's still separate as legacy add-on, which is the old add-ons prior to 4.2, and install from disk. So what I was going, maybe I'll demo like one of the themes. You can do that for the theme. Download the theme to the disk and then install from disk.
All right, so let's go to the theme. Let's find now the Grabbox Lite. Actually, I quite like this one. So by Silvia Psaniska. Let's click, and I'm gonna download this time. So it's a zip file, and I can drag and drop but that
You can just drag and drop.
I can drag and drop, and this would be the same concept. However, hey, this has changed. Local repository. What is a repository?
Repository is, wow, good question. Maybe how to explain that. So the extensions platform is a repository. If you have Superhive, that's going to be another repository. If I have my own personal set of add-ons, which I've been hoarding from the internet, that is also defined as a repository. So a repository is a place that has basically a listing of extensions you can access and install from. But you can also install from disk. And when you're doing that, that means you're creating a local repository, which means you're the one managing it, you're the one updating it. So those add-ons, they get no update information whatsoever.
Because they're local and they're always accessible, so it's just new,
Yes.
basically.
Yeah.
All right, so user default means my preferences, basically.
Yeah, the one that Blender by default creates for you.
Yeah. All right. So user preference, the default one. Just like if you don't want to know anything about it.
Yeah. Soon we are also unifying the install from disk with installing from disk for remote, which means this is gonna change a little bit, because even if you download from the extension website and are installing from disk, some people, especially for big add-ons,
Yeah.
like Blender Beam is gonna be quite large. Molecular nodes is gonna be almost 300 megabytes. It's convenient to first download, make sure you got the full file before you try to install in Blender. And then you're gonna be given the option to choose which repository you want to install that into.
Nice. How can I manage? Okay, I'm gonna maybe go back to the default one. I can of course change all the ones that I have installed are here. Part of you also may not find your themes. We mentioned add-ons, but the themes outside of Blender Dark and Light are also part of extensions. So if you want to use, for example, there was the
print friendly. That's very useful.
The print friendly. It's very printy and very friendly. Add-ons, themes, print friendly. Install, and it is great. So you're gonna find it the same way. And if you don't want to install it every time, you can just simply go back to Dark. Or the very confusing reset, which keeps the name, but it looks like something else. I need to mention those things so people know that we are aware and ashamed of this. All right, I have my theme, my extensions, I'm installing locally. You mentioned local repositories, and I can have multiple, right? So say I have one, the default one, if you click on user default, this is the path to, I was actually wondering before where my settings in this case on a Mac OS, and you can just basically click on this folder, or you can set a custom one. That way I can say, for example, I am very tidy and I keep all my add-ons in the desktop, and so I can add a new remote or local. In this case it's local because it's on my own computer. I can say desktop. There you go. And it's gonna be a custom directory. If I don't say that it's a custom directory, what happens?
Blender's gonna create a folder called desktop inside its config folder. So the same place where you store your startup.blend and your preference.blend. And then every time you install from disk and choose this repository, it goes to that directory.
Nice. Let's try. By the way, this needs to be aligned. All right, I'm gonna create one.
Oh, I thought you wanted to point this to your desktop.
I wanted to, but I'm also curious to where this is going. So extensions desktop, and I was curious if it was gonna properly escape the special characters like the exclamation mark, and it did. So now in my 4.2 folder, extensions, then blender.org. Oh my gosh. This is the Blender. This is my default one where I install GrabLite. And this is the new one, so I can add anything here. It's gonna show up here, and this can be like a Dropbox folder if you want, right?
That's correct. You can even, I mean, that's more advanced, but if you download anything from the extensions platform and unzip in that folder,
you want me to do it?
Just work, yeah.
All right, let's go with the alien that you like.
I like this a lot, yeah.
And then I'm gonna download it manually, and I'm gonna place this into this folder. You said I need to unzip it.
Yeah, that's correct, yes.
All right, can zip it here.
Spoiler alert, like on Mac, this will always work. on Windows and Linux. Some of the zip files we support and the extensions platform, they have been zipped with a special flag to be more compression efficient. So you might need something like 7-zip in order to be able to unzip it.
Okay. Or Blender.
Or Blender.
All right, so I have a new theme here. Is this gonna show up automatically?
Good question. Maybe you need to check for updates again.
Let's see. All right. Check for updates. And then, does it show here or does it show directly there?
It showed it there as well. Alien.
Alien pink. And this is
no, that's the online
remote repository, and it should show somewhere. I didn't install it. You think that if
yeah, I've tried to install from disk. Let's see the difference. It might create the JSON file.
Install from disk, and then I need to go to my. Okay, this is.
But meanwhile, well, let's finish this before.
What?
I was going to say that the reason also why installing from disk, I wanted to demo by drag and drop as we did, because that's the main way you expect people to be installing things from Blender, even from disk.
Drag and drop.
Yeah, because, and that's why the install from disk is hidden, quote unquote, inside a menu. Because there's a big difference. If you're drag and drop something into Blender, by the time you dragged, Blender already know what's the file you're trying to install. And so Blender goes inside the zip file and find the manifest and guess what is the repository you might intend to add this into, to install into.
Nice.
If you're installing from this interface, you don't know yet what is selected.
This is gonna be very confusing. So I'm messing up with Blender here. I'm picking a zip file that is inside of the repository, which I am selecting it to be installed in. So it's recursive, and it should probably override this, if at all. And it worked. And I installed it, and oh no, actually not, because the folder is based on the ID of the extension. So that's why they don't conflict. Interesting. So you can have a mess on your setups. Trust me. No.
It is all that requires. So maybe if you get another, if you get another package and just make sure the folder matches the file, it might work.
It might work, yeah. We are not gonna test that here. Try it at home. But basically what I wanted to do before was adding a new repository, but you get the idea. If I add a new local repository and choose, I can choose desktop, and it's gonna be just exactly the same.
I have a question for you.
Yeah, oh my god. As a user.
We mentioned that I can also install a repository like SuperHive, which is the upcoming renamed Blender Market.
Is it?
I don't know, some the LA conference.
I wasn't on LA, and they haven't updated the videos yet, I think.
I mean, I'm saying it's public enough if they mention on the LA conference.
I missed the memo. SuperHive.
Yes.
Nice.
But let's say whatever. Then people want to make sure you have a specific account that can be connected when you're accessing the repository.
Because you paid for add-ons and you need access to them to, like, you need to authenticate.
That's correct, yes. So because of that, to support this use case, when you're adding a new remote repository, you have a new option called
authentication requires
access token. That's correct.
So here I would write something like HTTPS and then SuperHive and etc. Something they give you. You can choose to, if you want Blender to check for updates or not, in case you want to keep your internet access limited. And this will only check for updates, not going to install them for you. It's going to mention that, hey, there are updates, but you have to go ahead and install them manually. Then required access token, this is something that the creators of the repository need to set up themselves.
That's correct. And then you can just type whatever token, which is like your password.
Ooh.
And Blender is treated as password. And this, of course, works for big websites, but even for small creators who, have a side gig in Patreon, Gumroad, whatnot, you can also. They probably wouldn't implement something that requires an authentication token, but they probably will give people a unique URL for people to access their own JSON. So there are ways we documented most of that. If you are in one of these situations, please reach out if the documentation is not clear, because we are testing this first and foremost in the open source Blender platform, but we want to make sure that the commercial use cases are also considered and properly tackled.
Exactly. You see the effort that Blender is putting into supporting commercial prices. Also, well, actually, now that I think of it, because it is authentication, would this work for a potential, what if I want to save my Blender settings on the web as like the old Blender sync, where I want to log in with my Blender ID to Blender and get all my add-ons and that are coming from the repository, from the extensions or my settings. I would require a authentication token. Could this be used for that?
Definitely. We even considered to have a favorite, wait for you to quickly go on holidays, go to a LAN house. Do they still have LAN house? Go to a LAN house in Peru, download Blender or bring the Blender in a sticker and just quickly connect to your extensions platform login and use that. We, as a matter of fact, as of right now, as of a few minutes, we also implemented a token system in the extensions platform, which is initially intended for API usage, which means people that want to upload new versions of an extension via the command line as part of their CI/CD, continuous integration, continuous deployment, can do so via this API. And I would say you could probably use a similar system, if not the same. No, it would have to be different, but anyhow, we could use a similar system for favorites.
LAN house, boring long name, says that takes me back. Yep. I think we covered most of it. Let's check if there is any questions. We made a thread on Blender today, and let's see, there is actually some questions, but yeah, I think we covered everything that we wanted to cover, as in like where add-ons coming. Is there going to be a pack of all my previous add-ons from 4.1?
Yeah, that's a pretty good question, because there are a few topics we're still fleshing out this week. This is one of them. We're definitely going to be making sure that every add-on you used to have in the old Blender, in Blender 4.0
Ancient Blender 4.1?
On Blender 4.1 are easily downloadable for you to install in Blender, either as one single package or in some cases bundled with Blender. That's why I kept saying during the live that a Node Wrangler is a special case.
Yes.
Because, for instance, the image as plane, which was also a very popular add-on, is now fully integrated with Blender. So if you just go Shift A in the viewport.
What? Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god. I without BlenderToday, I'm actually learning about these things live nowadays. So okay, I'm gonna start from scratch. Shift A.
Image,
mesh plane. Look at that. And I can, yeah, I guess it just works. I don't have to test anything here. But and I need to render it.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
So in some cases we can just move them into core Blender functionality. In some cases, like the Node Wrangler, we are moving part of the functionality into core, and then the rest of the parts gonna remain so far as an add-on. And we're still deciding whether this exists only in the platform or if we ship this with Blender already. There's some problems in either direction and some strong opinions in different things to consider. It's not a trivial matter. And then some of them are going to be only on the extensions platform. For example, the STL legacy. However, these, among with others like the themes and whatnot, we're definitely we're going to bundle them either as an extension or as a legacy add-ons. That's what we're still deciding. So you can just download Blender, download these, take this big zip, drop into Blender, problem solved. Because we also believe people want to do the same for their own favorite extensions. You want to pick a few extensions from the internet and then go to your place, hey, try this out. And then they try, everyone's happy.
That would be great actually, and that's something we could do from the web as well. From the web platform, we could have some kind of save or favorite, and then download a bundle of those and install them manually, right? Because Blender supports installing. If you have a zip file with a bunch of extensions, are they gonna be all installed at once?
That's correct, yes.
Nice. Batch installing extensions.
Not enabled.
No,
In
of
this
course
case,
not.
we'll make
Otherwise,
that disabled, but yeah.
if you good luck trying to enable 100 extensions that all have like conflicting shortcuts and key maps and.
So this is, I mean, one of the, I think it's nice to highlight what's still to come for the platform until the 4.2 beta. One is the best message and error handling when you just drag something into Blender and you're still offline. Because in our demo here, we first went online. But at home, you might notice that things will just not work and you don't know why. And that's why, because you're offline, you still haven't tackled that. The auto update, as we mentioned, every time you go to the preferences. Brecht is working on something that makes sure that Blender only checks for updates once every day. To avoid, every time you go to Blender, get some noise, some information, whatever. We are unifying the install from disk, so that also the legacy, or it doesn't matter what it is, you can still choose where it goes to and what that is, if legs or not. And there are a few like rough corners on the website or on the Blender side that we are aware of, but if you find bugs, please let us know as well.
Please report them on the extensions website. If it's related to the extensions websites, when you're logged in, you can go to report the problem, but also if you see something strange with an extension in particular, you can go to report abuse, and that will lead you to you can give some reasons. You can if it is spam or it doesn't work, maybe feel free to do it as well.
Even if for some reason in the future you notice that an extension doesn't work with the Blender 4.3, for example, you can also report this. This is something that everyone can definitely help. You actually go to the you go to where it says what is the compatibility range. So in this case, it says 4.2 and newer. But you know what? Newer is not really true sometimes because the API changed. So you can click on the little flag and then you can fill out this little form. And then basically the author is going to be notified.
Interesting. That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
Nice work. Yeah, you're not going to see this unless you're a moderator. That's why it looks slightly different. But I think we covered pretty much everything. Let's try to go through the 3 questions that are now on here posted. So let's go here. No, let's not go full screen because I broke that on the web. The first question is by Daniela Pal. Nice to see you. Well, nice to see everyone again. Thanks for dropping by. Do my eyes deceive me? It's our beautiful boys back in town. Hope everything is going well. It is going well.
Yes, and this everything is going super well. And I think the idea of moving the BlenderToday to a more special occasion kind of event, it makes a lot of sense, and it's nice to try that and see how it works. So let us know if that's working well.
That's working for you too. I do miss a bit of BlenderToday, though.
I feel rusted.
Yeah. Extensions is a great idea, says Daniel. And I sort of comically love how it is forcing node wrangler features into main. The balance of the world is as it should be. Very excited about all the goodness in the geometry nodes workshop, that blog post that was posted last week by Jack Luke. It's a workshop that happened here 2 weeks ago with Edindale, Jack, and the team here at the studio. So read more about what's the future of geometry nodes.
And on the same webpage, you can also read about the extensions platform.
Yes, in the homepage, the second post is extensions beta release, which is talking mainly about the platform itself. The next question by Archvision says, hello Pablo and Dalai, how's it going? I recently switched completely to Arch Linux. I would like to contribute to Blender, but I don't know how to program. I although built quite the amount of Linux kernels. I'm willing to learn. Do you mind telling me what language should I learn? What part of Blender should I contribute? I'm already building Blender locally.
The extensions integration in Blender is fully done in Python. And the website is fully done in Python as well. It's called Django, it's the web framework. And I'm just, bringing this to the topic of the conversation here. The other parts of Blender is mostly C++, a bit of C++.
Mainly C++, actually. It used to be C, but if you go to projects.blender.org, Blender, you will see this line. If you click on it, you see that Blender is 77% C++, Python 13, and a few others.
If you change to a branch, does it show per branch?
That's very interesting.
It was an old tag, like
3.3.
Ah.
Probably no.
Or trying it.
You're asking too much. Asking too much. But yeah, if you want to see how could you contribute to Blender, there is the developer.blender.org website where you can see how to build Blender. You already gone through that, the introduction and code documentation. If you go to the introduction section, you will see some steps on how to set up for Blender development, how to set up VS Code or whatever you use. And there is a pick a project, I think, and there should be like the
we used to have a first good issue.
We do have that.
We used to have it. I know because I
pick a project to work on, and then
maybe there are list of quick hacks.
There's a list of quick hacks.
Probably this one.
Come on,
as a matter of fact, the first one is indeed, it was a task from the extensions platform. So basically it's a bug. If the repository, so the Blender repository is disabled, whatever you wanted to disable it, and you still try to install, you just fail silently. And it was a bug I reported, so low priority, I marked as a good first issue. We have a patch already.
Damn, nice.
Thank you, community.
So yes, and it is mentioned, the documentation is also mentioned in the README of Blender, the whole repository. But yeah, thanks for the interest in contributing to Blender. The last question is by XDragon. Says, when do you think, hi by the way, nice to see you. When do you think the hair curve will get gravity physics? This is the last thing the hair curve need before the old particle system can be a legacy tool.
It's definitely one of them. If you go over the Geometry Nodes workshop blog post, it explains a little bit the roadmap for Geometry Nodes. A big one is how do we share the assets? Basically how here's mentioned as bundled assets. Because one thing that got on the way a bit of developing new user-friendly tools for Geometry Nodes is because it's very tricky now to create a little node group and share with people. And we are basically focused on that, prioritizing these, because we also want for people to be able to share and create assets made with Blender, Geometry Nodes, whatnot. As a matter of fact, it's one of the topics we have been going over when you're thinking about the extensions platform is how else can we extend Blender? And assets is definitely one of them. That's why we are very careful on how we make sure Blender is offline first and foremost. But when you do make it online, you do explicitly, because now we can benefit from a lot of things. One of them can be in the future a Blender asset repository. Remote repository. You
hear it first on Blender Today. Confirmed Blender online asset libraries.
Yes, if we manage to prioritize this, it depends on the support we get from the community, from sponsors, but we see a need for this, and I think it'd be interesting to
support, as in you mean the
I mean support from the people, from especially the stores. The conversation we were having with them, we had in the LA conference, we had a talk with a few of them. That's why on the Blender side we make sure we see there as a valid use case. Today we cover that extensively in the extensions with the tokens and this remote secret access, and I think it's the same goes for the assets. And I think it's a conversation that they're gonna just keep having it, and I see as a bright future to have this whole the topic of internet in Blender more and more.
Would be insane. I think the hardest part is done, like deciding where to put the button that allows Blender internet access. That was the biggest drama, because how do we communicate it in a way that people don't think that you have to be online? But I think that should be sort of tackled by now, plus the extensions platform, plus the whole link. It's so much work.
There's also a matter of the team. Like, ideally, I'd love to have Sibran, who is watching us, to actually be the one
Feature request,
working on this project.
project request.
And he's working on the animation. So do we put the animation on hold? Can Nathan can this be uploaded to Nathan?
And Sibran already did sort of it, where the Blender Cloud access to textures, the online texture library and projects was accessible from within Blender. Before it was cool in 2016.
But also he worked also on the Poser library integration of the asset browser.
That too.
He's reacting now.
Hey, he's in the chat. Hey. Nice.
Anyhow, just keep these things interesting. This is a topic for internal discussions and planning and budgeting and whatnot. Yeah. But we want to make sure Blender can now connect more and more to the internet. And yeah, that's what we're working towards.
Speaking of budgeting, we have there is a 4691, and when we released 4.1, it was 4750. It's actually going down, but we have a new corporate that manages to level it up. Are you good to wrap up? We have this that just came in. 2 of them are saying hi, so that's nice. This one we did. Would be nice we could also have pre-made geometry node setup, including the extension platform that's related to the asset library.
Yeah, we considered, we decided to not move these to the assets project.
Nice. And CG Astonis is crying because you're ignoring him on the YouTube. But I tweeted about it. I share this link. We are reading news from here. We are, don't cry. We're looking at the chat here, but it's hard to keep track and talk at the same time, instead of just focusing it in here in the chat, in the thread. What did we miss? What did you ask? CG Astonished. Just emoji, shouting, screaming. There were no questions.
You can also ask questions in the video itself in the comments. We're gonna try to reply.
Those are we.
The one from CG Astonished as good as possible.
All right. Anyways, thanks everyone. I think we are past over 1 hour, which is sort of the time, and it was just about extensions. Imagine.
Yeah, but that's also why we believe. I believe that this format can work well, because sure it was 1 hour, but maybe even if it was half an hour.
Yeah.
For people that just want to know about extensions, they can just absorb this.
Exactly. Yeah. We had comment in the past like, I just want to know what cycles, and we were talking about grease pencil or the other way around. So. Speaking of grease pencil, that might be one of the next few videos and related to V3, grease pencil V3. What other projects? It's coming. EV Next, that could have some.
EV Next would be fun.
Could be fun.
The
Not
GPU,
for Clement, but for me.
GPU compositor. Not many. Most of the team is remote.
Yeah.
Unless you get Sergey here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let us know in the comments below, or actually on the side now, because the UI here, you see the
here?
There the UI of YouTube changed. The video has the recommended videos underneath, and the sidebar has the comments now. It's crazy.
Oh, that's cool.
Not for everybody. You need to. They're rolling it out. Okay. Off topic. Thanks everyone for staying until the end. I hope you enjoyed this. I did. Thanks Dalai for dropping by.
Thanks for organizing it. Thanks for everyone for being around.
Yes, and let us know in the comments what other kind of videos, such as talking about features, would you like to see next. Yeah, sorry. Never mind. See you in the next one. Watch your ear holes. 5, 4. Hey, Marton. 3, 2, 1. That is.